Alright, so hello one and all, welcome back to another Mushoku Tensei video. Today we'll be going over a bunch of polls that Suspicious-Store 3236 had created, and he made a bit of basically a tournament of who is the most loyal to Rudeus Grey Rat. So there are 16 different characters that he's pinned up, and 90% of this is been finished. There's only 2 rounds that have not been actually posted yet, but I don't think that they will be because there was some controversy behind some of this, and people just got annoyed really quick for some reason, but it's kind of understandable. After a certain point, you can only use the same argument so many times for a character as to like why they are loyal to Rudeus. But I wanted to talk about the answers and the results of each poll in battle, and I wanted to kind of give my insight on that. But I want to say that this is for the anime, Season 2, Part 1. We are judging based on that criteria, what we have seen so far in the anime. I do want to make another video at some point in the future talking about this exact kind of battle poll thing, but from a light novel perspective with full spoilers. So that will come out eventually, but for now I just want to talk about the anime. So he had 4 levels to this, and after each level, the losers would be eliminated and the winners would then be paired up and matched against each other. And so, starting off with level 1, round 1, we have Cliff versus Norn. Who is more loyal? And the results were basically Cliff won by an absolute landslide, which makes a lot of sense. Although Cliff himself, we haven't seen his loyalty too much yet in the anime. Norn just hates Rudy, though. She kind of just does. She's not a fan of Rudy, and Cliff is now like, he likes Rudeus now. Now that he got him and Alina Lies. I know it's Alina Lees, but that sounds so stupid. Alina Lies is so much cooler sounding, isn't it? I'm gonna say Alina Lies. But, he got them together, and so obviously Cliff now has a lot of respect for Rudy and is willing to do a lot for him. Although I can't really discuss much more from here, it does make a lot of sense. Just Norn hates him, Cliff doesn't. So Cliff is more loyal as of the anime. So, yeah, I agree with that round 1. Now we're moving on to round 2 with Sylphiette versus Zenoa. And this is where some controversy in the comments began. Not necessarily controversy against Suspicious-Store. We'll get to that. Did I mention there's some controversy here? There's somehow this simple Reddit poll. People got angry. There's controversy. There's a lot going on, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Sylphiette versus Zenoa. By a small percentage, maybe by 10-15%, Sylphiette won. I'm going to disagree on that. I do not think that Sylphiette is more loyal to Rudeus than Zenoa is. Zenoa is a ride or die kind of guy. He would jump on a blade, which probably wouldn't actually pierce him, to save Rudeus. It's actually stated that I believe it's King and Saint tier swordsman cannot even damage Zenoa. That is how strong he is. He can't beat them. He's slow as hell, but they can't hurt him either. So, it doesn't really matter what blade hits him. He's going to be fine for the most part, unless he's against an emperor or god, which, that's crazy. That's a conversation for another day. But Sylphiette versus Zenoa, we see Sylphiette is, she likes Rudeus, absolutely, but I don't think even in the anime we see her being loyal at all. In fact, we see the opposite of that, and this is kind of a trend that happens throughout. She does choose Ariel over Rudeus, even though Rifujin Namaganote, the author, has stated that she would choose Rudeus over Ariel. We see on multiple occasions that she doesn't. And this is where the anime, manga, light novel, and web novel all differ. There's a scene where, and I'll get to it eventually in another video, but in both the anime and manga, Ariel says that Sylphiette is free to go, and she's, I couldn't help you find your family. I'm going to Renoa Magic University. You can leave. And Sylphiette chooses to stay with Ariel versus leaving her and trying to find Rudeus. In the light novel, we don't really get that scene, to be completely honest. It just doesn't really exist. But in the web novel, it does. But Ariel asks Sylphiette to stay, and she's like, oh, shucksy doodle, fine, I'll stay for ya. So it goes a little bit differently, but in both the anime and manga, we see that Sylphie actively chooses Rudeus, or chooses Ariel over Rudeus. So overall, it's Zenoba. If Rudeus asked Zenoba to like slaughter a village for him, he would do it no question. If Rudeus, he's like, man, this village, they're a little annoying with their whole, I don't like their shtick. And Zenoba's like, what, do you want me to kill him? I mean, I'll get rid of all of them. There'll be nothing but blood. I'll paint the fucking walls red. Right? And Rudeus is like, whoa, chill, bro. I mean, yeah, do it, but, do it discreetly. It's not, I feel like Zenoba should have won this part. This is one that I will disagree with. And it's a little bit troubling because moving forward, we have no more Zenoba in this poll. But there is something to note here. Season 2, Part 2 it was airing at the time of these polls. And so obviously people are going to choose Sylphie over Zenoba just because she's popular right now. And I get it. I do. But that doesn't mean that I agree with it. It's understandable why there would be Sylphie favor at the moment. And now in round 3, we have Ariel and Luke kind of as one unit versus Paul. Who is more loyal? This isn't even a discussion. Ariel and Luke do not give a shit about Rudeus. Paul, 100%. Paul may be a jackass sometimes, but he does love his son. It's an easy Paul victory here. Next up, round 4, we have Roxy versus Rudeus, with the majority, about 75 to 60 to 75% of people saying Roxy. And yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I think both would probably die for Rudeus if they had to. And it's tough because I don't think either character has in the anime or ever kind of will. At least not from my memory. So it is interesting. It's an interesting discussion because it's really hard to compare these characters based on what we've seen from them. We know that, like, it's difficult. I'm more inclined to say at the moment, as of the anime, probably Rudeus would be more loyal to Rudeus, but that may change later on. People did vote, Roxy with like 75% votes, give or take. But it is a little bit of a tough one. This is the first actual tough round here, and that is a lot of criticism that the person got for it. It's like a lot of these are fairly easy, even though sometimes, the results are wrong and people choose characters that they probably shouldn't have. They're pretty easy polls so far. But this one is definitely difficult, and I totally understand either way. Especially if we were talking about the light novel, the answer is a lot more kind of even. But as of the anime, we don't really see much Roxy loyalty at the moment. I mean, but then again, that's a complete lie. I'm completely forgetting about the fact that she's spending years of her life going around trying to search for him and then tell Paul about his existence. Rudeus does do something similar, and that is traveling throughout the entire world to get Rudeus back home. And so they both have done very similar things, and that's the difficulty of this. I really couldn't say, I guess now, or even in the light novel, who is more loyal. It's kind of difficult to say. And this is the first one that, did I vote on this one? I voted Roxy, just because I'm a Roxy fan. But I do think that this is very even. Because both have done very similar things for Rudeus and have wasted a very similar portion of their lives to helping him. I think at the moment in the anime, Rudeus has taken more of a step forward than Roxy has. But then again, like, even if this was in season 2, part 2, this might change, right? Roxy may be a little bit more loyal. We see in the trailer, Roxy shows up again. That's not a spoiler. What she does in that season, it definitely adds to her loyalty. So it's very difficult to say right now, and I think that's interesting. That's a fun one. And now we have round 5, which is Orsted versus Eris. And I believe Orsted wins with an absolute, loses with an absolute landslide to Eris. No shit. I don't even need to get into this one. Eris won again, like a good, 90%. That was her victory. 90% of people, give or take, voted Eris because, of course, she's literally like going off to train for years of her life just to become Rudeus's equal, even though she already is. But in her mind, she literally sees Rudeus as a god. That is what she says in the light novels. She sees Rudeus as a god. She worships him like Rudeus worships Roxy's panties. It is insane how much she cares for him. So round 5, easy. I don't even need to. Orsted, he pulled a reverse flash on him, right? I don't need to get into that. Round 6, Lilia versus Perugius. We don't even see Perugius in the anime. I can't really talk about this one, but it doesn't matter. Perugius doesn't give a shit about Rudeus. It doesn't matter. Perugius only cares about himself. That's really it. It's so Lilia. Again, it's without getting into spoilers, I can't even talk about it, but even still, it's Lilia. Lilia would a very similar dedication to Zenoa. Very similar. She would do a lot for Rudeus. But up next is round 7 with Zenith and Linnea and Persenna. And yeah, no, we're just going to go Zenith. Like, Zenith is, that's what I'm going to say. And even then, it's a good, 80% of people agree as well. 80% of people say that Zenith is the victor. Which, yeah, both Linnea and Persenna, they see Rudeus kind of as their master. And they are very, very loyal to him. Especially, again, later on, right? The more the characters interact with each other, of course, they're going to be more loyal. That's kind of just an overarching theme with all of what I'm saying here. Whenever I dip into light novel teasing, it's just the more they know about, the more they get to know each other, of course, they're going to be more loyal. But Zenith is just, she's a mom, right? She's the mother. Of course, she's going to be loyal to him. I definitely agree with this. Zenith definitely is more loyal, but I could understand why people would say Linnea and Persenna. I keep wanting to drop these facts because I'm learning a lot more about Mushoku Tensei, and there is going to be a very big video talking about this, but I believe Linnea's original name was supposed to be Lineana in Persenna. That was supposed to be it, but then the author forgot that he already named her back in volume 4. I guess her name was name dropped at some point, and so it's like, shit, I can't call her Lineana anymore. But yeah, just fun fact there. Anyway, now round 8, Aisha versus Nanahoshi. So, Aisha, I can't even talk about this one. This one's just, it's Aisha. Like, not even for spoiler reasons. It's Nanahoshi can relate to Rudeus, absolutely, but even still, she is only using him. If anything, it's the opposite, right? She is not loyal to him. She doesn't really care too much about Rudeus at the moment. And so, personally, I'm going to say Aisha. And that is level 1 done. Not bad. Some of these had some nice thought-provoking discussions. Some of them didn't. And some of them I literally couldn't for spoilers. So now we are moving on to level 2 with only there being 4 rounds this time. The first of which being, for some reason, we're already going into this one, which I don't necessarily agree with the order of some of these polls. Maybe I should redo this poll one day because I think it'd be very interesting. The first one is Eris versus Sylphiette. Why we're doing this already in round 2, we should probably save this one for later. I don't know why, but it's Eris. I don't need to get into it. It's Eris. Eris wins. Again, Sylphiette has that. This is where some of the comments do have a bit of an issue with this, because you're kind of using the same arguments over and over again to justify why each character is loyal. And so this is actually where some of the controversy comes in, because supposedly, I'm not making any claims, but supposedly this poll was rigged. Suspicious Store says that there was a vote manipulation and Reddit kind of took it down for him, but others say that Sylphiette won. Sylphiette won the poll, but due to the author, again, the poster in this was in the comments as well, saying, oh yeah, no, Eris should be winning this, blah, blah, blah. And interestingly enough, even though Sylphiette was winning the entire time, he listed it down as Eris winning. He claims that Eris had won the poll, rightfully so, I think. I feel like Eris should have won, but people did vote Sylphiette. People voted Sylphiette, but the original poster decided to manipulate things a little bit. That's what people are saying. So, unfortunately, I cannot tell you exactly by what margin they won, but last I saw, it was very neck and neck. And for all we know, Eris did win. I don't know. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything. But controversy, somehow, in a simple character poll. I don't get it. But now, let's move on to round 2, because this is where I can actually talk about it. So basically, we have Paul versus Cliff, and it's almost even a little bit. I'm gonna say a good like 40-60, and with Paul being the winner. And I totally understand both sides of this. I do. And regardless if we're talking about the light novel or anime, it is a tough one. It really is, because I think both would lie down, like they would lay their life on the line for Rudeus. Maybe not so much Cliff at the anime, but again, as their relationship deepens, I think both would stand in front of a bullet for the other. At the moment, I do agree Paul is probably more loyal to Rudeus. I mean, he was doing everything for Rudeus and his family and like all of the years searching for them, right? He is loyal to them. He's loyal to Rudeus, and so is Cliff. I do think that at the moment, Paul is probably more loyal to Rudeus than Cliff is. So yeah, and that again, that's what people mostly agreed on. So now up to round 3 for level 2, we have Roxy versus Aisha. This is a difficult one. See, I like these. Now we're getting a little bit, this is a little bit difficult. And so Roxy did win by a little bit, but this is difficult because I would argue that even now in the anime, Aisha is more loyal to Rudeus than Roxy is. Again, like, Roxy has shown a lot of loyalty going across the world for him, going all the way to the demon continent and back, literally, all for him and his family. But at the same time, Aisha has literally been raised since birth to worship him. And at first, she was very hesitant on that. She didn't understand, why am I to, be loyal to this guy who I've never even met before, really? Not in my memory, anyway. But then when she met Rudeus, she goes, oh my god, I totally understand. Like, I get it. This guy is worth worshipping. And so, I don't know. It is a little bit difficult, but I would say that Aisha is probably the winner here, because Aisha, she's willing to do a lot of stuff with Rudeus, stuff that I can't really talk about on YouTube, even though I've talked about way worse stuff on here. She's willing to do a lot of things with him when she's older. Roxy's made no claim, no declaration of that. So at the moment, I would say that Aisha, it might be more loyal to Rudeus. That doesn't like necessarily translate like one loves the other more or anything like that. Then again, Roxy doesn't really love Rudeus at all. He's a kid in her eyes. But even still, she does praise Rudeus and like hold him on a pedestal. But it's, at the moment, I'm going to go with Aisha, but I totally understand why people would say Roxy. But overall, I do think that Aisha has and kind of always will be more loyal to Rudeus. But now we move on to round 4, Lilia versus Zenith. And so this one's going to be a little bit of a conversation, but the victor by a little bit, by, decent, 5-10%, is Lilia. And I do agree with that. I do think that Lilia is more loyal to Rudeus than his own mother. Even though Lilia kind of is his mother as well, but, blood mother is definitely different. I do think that Lilia is more loyal to a fault. And I do think that Zenith again, talking about love versus loyalty is very different. I do think that Zenith loves Rudeus more than Lilia does, but Lilia would absolutely follow Rudeus to the ends of the earth, no matter what horrendous crimes he commits. But Zenith, I don't think will. It's kind of like a mother's duty. If your kid messes up, you correct them. You tell them, no, you're doing bad. And you let them go. It's like, if there is a certain point where you do just let them go. And if they want to continue going down the path, that is absolutely up to them. I feel like Lilia would follow Rudeus, where Zenith would let him go. Try and convince him to stop, but he's an adult, he can do what he wants, right? And so I think that is why Lilia is more loyal, to a fault, and not even in a good way. She would do anything for Rudeus and let him do anything, maybe. There is, she did say at some point that that the reason why she follows Rudeus and wants to do so much for him is because of what he did for her that day. And she wanted to make sure that he was still that same kind of man. So there is an argument there that Lilia would not follow Rudeus to the ends of the earth, like what I'm claiming. But I do think that even still, she would forgive a lot of his sins if he were to just commit them. Meanwhile, Zenith probably wouldn't. And we see that, especially later on in the series. We definitely do see a lot more of Zenith's disapproval of Rudeus and what he does. Not so much in the anime, but we do know that, you know, if she's upset with something or someone, she will let them know. And so I do think that Lilia is still more loyal. But now we are on to round 3, Lilia versus Paul. And this one I do think is kind of, it's a little bit of an easy one. It's Lilia, and again, it's by double the votes go to Lilia. That's what people voted for, and at the moment in the series, absolutely, for all the reasons that I just explained. Paul, you know, very similar to Zenith, would let Rudeus go if he does something wrong. And, you know, he thought, you know, when they reunited, he thought that Rudeus was doing something very wrong, like messing around for however many years with just a cute girl. And, you know, he let him know. Paul was technically in the wrong there, but, you know, it's definitely, I don't really have to talk much more. I think all of you can probably agree that Lilia is more loyal to Paul at the moment. And this is actually where the polls end, at least at the moment of recording. Maybe the guy will post more, I don't know, but I think the last 2 rounds, the level 3 and level 4, are going to be very, very easy to picture who won. And so level 3, round 2, the second last battle, for some reason, is Eris versus Roxy. I don't know why he didn't wait till last, because obviously Eris and Roxy would win versus Lily and Paul, so why not just pair them up together, so then you can have a climactic finale. But Eris versus Roxy, who is more loyal? It's an easy answer. It's Eris. Again, we don't need to talk about it. I do think that it is a very easy answer. Maybe it's a little bit more split in terms of the anime, but we see a lot more of Eris's internal monologue. Again, she views Rudeus as a god, just like Rudeus views Roxy as a goddess. Roxy does not see Rudeus as a god. She just doesn't. Eris is obviously more loyal to Rudeus. And at the moment, anyway, that may change, it may not. It's not really my place to say at the moment. That's for another video. And so now we go on to level 4, round 1, the final round, Eris versus Lilia. This one, understandable. It's definitely a little bit of a challenging debate, I would say. But Eris, for all of the same reasons that I've listed before, which I don't think I actually listed any, I forget if I did. She worships him. She's dedicating multiple years of her life to train to become his equal, even though she already is and in ways surpassed him. Did I say worships him? Sniffs his underwear, actually. She does it back to him. He may sniff hers, but she sniffs back, right? She's that level of degenerate. She's on his level. Lilia, again, I think that Eris would follow Rudeus to the ends of the earth. Even if he commits genocide upon however many people, she would be there. She would be his sword. She would be the one committing those acts. Very similar with Zenoa. I do think that what this should have been is Zenoa versus Eris. I do think that overall, Zenoa versus Eris should have been the final round, because those are the 2 most loyal people. But, you know, because we're talking about Eris versus Lilia, like I was saying, if Rudeus were to commit horrible acts of genocide or anything, Lilia probably would follow him for a little bit, but would ultimately let him go. Meanwhile, Eris wouldn't. She would be the ones committing those acts in his name, for him. I don't think that Eris really cares quite much about morality and you know, who lives and who dies. Maybe she does. Maybe I'm getting her character totally wrong, but she would probably do so much for him. So a lot of people are just angry. They're like, oh, it's the same discussion over and over again. And in a way, at the end there, it kind of was. But I do think that it was very interesting. And I'm very excited one day to make like a part 2 to this video where I talk about the light novel versions of these characters and the end game and kind of how things change. I think that'd be very interesting. But obviously there'd be spoilers there. So yeah, I hope I didn't really spoil too much in this video. I hope I only, teased maybe. But I do think this was fun. I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree or disagree? Obviously, all of this is just subjective, except for like ones like Ariel and Luke versus Paul, right? Lilia versus Perugius. Like, some of these are just, yeah, no shit. There are definitely a few of these that are difficult, right? There was the Sylphiette versus Zenoa. A lot of people argued against that. Roxy versus Aisha. Lilia Zenith. Eris Sylphiette. There is, did I already list that one? I don't remember. I'm tired. But I did very much enjoy making this video. What do you guys think about all of this? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with the poll results? What are your opinions? Comment. Feed the algorithm. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe for more Mushoku Tensei content, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.